You're listening to Design Atlas Season 2.
Have you ever wanted to know what it's like to run your own design studio? Today we'll meet with Valeria Moreiro, owner and creative art director at NotReal, a design and animation studio in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Valeria was introduced into the design medium at a very young age. From having grown up with two journalist parents who worked within the newspaper industry, she was truly inspired by the print medium and how it was distributed throughout the world. This set the stage for Valeria, and she knew that being a part of the design community was for her.
So without further ado, let's buckle up and head over to Buenos Aires, Argentina to meet up with Valeria Moreiro.
It's not like it's about doing something that somebody else is doing. It's about how the world evolves together.
I am Valeria Moreiro. I'm art director and creative director at NotReal. Together with Nico Gonzalez and Roberto Connolly, we run NotReal Studio. We mainly work for the motion graphics industry, but we do all different kinds of work. We really like to think we're super versatile. Illustration and also branding and explainers and all kinds of stuff. We have a lot of fun in the studio, and we work with a super talented team of people as well.
From an early age, Valeria had a love for art inside of her. Growing up with both parents being journalists, much of her childhood revolved around what was being printed and written in the newspapers. This certainly inspired her at an early age, showing just how impactful the practice of communications and design are in the world.
When you are a child, it's more, related to the art side and not so much like a design side. I wanted to draw everywhere when I was a child. And I remember we used to live on a 12th floor. I would draw a lot of skies over there because that apartment had a beautiful view, and I used to paint skies, and that was what I was doing when I was a child. And then I moved a lot when I was little, and I was always drawing. I remember that every time I had to, I wanted a doll or maybe something to have fun with, I would make it. My mother has pictures of me trying to recreate a doll that was my scale, because I wanted to have a doll that was as tall as me, and I would draw it, I would make it out of paper, and I was a paper fan when I was a child. I would do, a huge city and cars and everything. So my parents eventually sent me to a half-time art school when I was a kid, when I started first grade. I would go to regular school and then in the mornings to art school. So that was super, super fun and super inspiring. I used to live in a small city inside the province, and my parents were journalists both. And I remember my father was working on a newspaper that was on the same block that my house. Well, there was my house, then the newspaper, and then on the other corner, it was the art school. So my whole life was on that block.
Growing up with her journalist parents, Valeria was frequently in her parents' office and even ended up job shadowing a designer who worked at one of the local newspapers in the area.
And I remember being super connected to one of my mom's friends. He was an art director on a very, very popular newspaper here in Buenos Aires. And she really talked to me about how the job was, what she was doing. She showed me what the work was like. And I was super enthusiastic about it. She told me what was the world like. And I liked it. And that was my first introduction. And then I remember I really I wanted to do packaging when I was like in high school. I was thinking that I would do editorial, newspapers, magazines, and then somehow in the middle, I liked to do packaging and I don't know, like packs of perfumes and everything. Even, I don't know, like things, from the grocery store. I would look at the packaging from the grocery store and see how they were. I really liked that. I don't know, everything changed when you start actually learning graphic design. I remember my first memories of an offset machine for printing are from the newspaper. They even had a linotype press prior to having the offset. Yeah, I remember that when we just moved in, this was 1991, guys. I was on my first year of primary school. And I remember that they had brought the offset machine and it was shown into a huge window so you could see it from the street. And it was like the novelty of the town, and they have the offset machine. So it was a huge thing. And I also remember when they started working with computers. So my dad would bring me, diskettes by then, and he was like, we're working this way right now, so we have everything on the computer and they don't have to do the headlines like this anymore. Everything goes to the computer, to the print, so I kind of were super in touch with the evolution of that.
Once Valeria graduated high school and was ready to take on university life, she decided to stay pretty close to where she grew up. She began studying in La Plata in the Faculty of Art. The program was called Design and Visual Communication. This was the stage in her life that Valeria really fell in love with design.
I started college in 2003. And I remember on that first year, I was super excited about all of the things that I got to know. And it was I fell in love with the career on the first year. I was like, oh my God, this is so much more. This is so much more great than what I was expecting it to be. And I remember getting into history of graphic design, for example. And I remember enjoying everything, enjoying how it changed over the years and everything, and how the world actually, the history of the world actually was impacting the way that designers were thinking or the needs of the people, and how would typography change from one minute to the other because the world was changing.
Looking back, Valeria realized that all the deep connections she made with her studies at her university really prepared her for any design project that came her way out in the real world.
I didn't know by then. I realized that everything that I learned in university, they make you read about history, about what happens in the world, and make you think of things that it's not only learning how to do the work, it's about creating you as a human being that can think of, that can be involved in a society. And it doesn't matter if you choose to do motion graphics or packaging or editorial, you have all the tools to be a professional. So that's what matters the most. And I remember I couldn't see it that way back then because I wanted to work, do shows and do beautiful things. But now that I feel like I had the chance over the years to do a lot of work, I get to really appreciate all of the different areas of different perspectives that university brought me. That maybe if I had just plain graphic design and learning typography and only being on the field, it would have been different.
Around 2005, motion graphics started really taking off in Buenos Aires.
It wasn't until the third year of college that I started like listening to this idea of motion graphics. And by then, motion graphics was a huge boom. By then, a lot of companies from broadcasting started to have offices here in Buenos Aires. So a lot of studios were doing broadcast design with motion graphics, and we had a boom in the industry. And it was amazing by then, because you kind of had the vibe that something exciting was happening.
For Valeria, choosing between the University of Argentina and the Faculty of Arts was a bit of a challenge to make her final decision.
Yeah, I wanted to come to Buenos Aires at first, and I wasn't sure where to go. But then La Plata was super close, and I had amazing references as well. So it really didn't matter because the education was good in both sides. So it's like I was closer to home. I was closer to my family, so I decided to go there. But then over the years, I remember like being on, I don't know, like 4th grade of university. And I remember looking at the things that people in Buenos Aires were doing. By then, we had a huge boom of Flickr. I don't know if you guys remember. Flickr was the thing. Everybody was posting on Flickr. And I remember looking at what people were doing here in Buenos Aires, and it was a lot more experimental than what I was being taught in La Plata. I remember being jealous a little bit about it. And I was like, why don't we do that here? So much more experimental, so much more like into like the shapes and how does it look like? Because the education in my school was a lot more into functional. Not only from the visual side, but what are you doing as a designer to contribute to the society? So it's more like a human side of it. And I remember like I wanted to create that from my side, because I was feeling that was my university or my college was lacking. So I wanted to reach out and do this feeling of, okay, if I have to do, I don't know, like a rebrand for a bank, which was one of the things that we had to do at school, or redo a packaging of milk. You have to do so many things at school. I remember that even though it had to work, even though it had to be functional to what the problem was, what there has to be communicated, I remember that I wanted to look good. And my feeling was that, okay, it does work, but if it doesn't look good, nobody will look at it. Nobody will buy it. So I remember that wasn't something that wasn't encouraged. It wasn't brought up during school, at least in my school. And I remember that I was looking everywhere to see how could I learn about it? How could I do it better? What was like my perspective, or trying to create the way I would do things?
Valeria wanted to make sure that all the work she created looked good. And who could blame her? That's basically every designer's goal. But something changed in her when she shifted her mind from creating work for others to instead create work that she enjoyed making for herself.
It was super important. It was super important that everything that I would do, that it had to look good. What looks good for somebody doesn't look for somebody else. But in terms of that, I would say that I started like to trust my gut and do things that I would like, and that would make something like somebody else. You start to trust your gut. You start to trust your intuition. You start to create, I don't know, like an aesthetic of your own and how you would do things, and that eventually makes you like more confident in what you do, and creates a bond with the people that you work with the clients, with the portfolio you got, how the people see you.
In 2007, Valeria applied to a Fulbright scholarship from the Rhode Island School of Design.
So I went there for a summer. It was amazing. I met a lot of people. Somehow I realized that there was a world, like the multimedia and interactive and things in motion, that really had something that I liked. That was like one of the first approaches into like the motion world, or not only doing static things, let's say, not only doing something editorial or packaging or something that wouldn't move.
After coming back from her summer experience in the US and graduating from her school in Argentina, Valeria moved to Buenos Aires.
I moved to Buenos Aires. I got a job here. It was in the packaging field. They used to do a lot of packaging. And I started there and I moved here. I remember during the first months, I moved to one of my mother's best friend's house. She was living somewhere else, so she gave me her house. So I started living here. And then 3 months afterwards, I was called for a different studio that they would do motion graphics. And I switched. And then I moved again to a different house, a different neighborhood. So I started like doing my life here. And it was a great job because, not because what I had to do, but because of the people that I met there. I remember meeting a lot of talented people, a lot of people that wanted to do amazing things. And it was beautiful. I really look back and I appreciate that time of my life and the people that I met. And then I worked in different studios. I went from one studio to the other and met a lot of people here in Buenos Aires. I realized that the medium wasn't that big as I imagined it would be. I realized that everybody knows everybody. That was really good, and it's, I don't know, like challenging because you see that somebody else, like it's a peer to you, is doing something good and has, I don't know, like they're willing to grow, and that makes you want to do something more.
While Valeria isn't an animator, she loves working with animators to make her designs come to life in movement and flow.
I really like to do and think about the sequences and think about the compositions and how they would look like in motion. By then, I remember feeling if I didn't animate or if I didn't do animations, then I wouldn't have a spot on the motion graphics industry. And it wasn't like that at all. At least you have to know how it works, you have to have some idea, but it's a complete different work or job. And it's good that sometimes it's even the animator, but you have to have your knowledge from a design perspective. And that's what makes it better. You do what you do best, and somebody else does what they do best. So we evolve as professionals because we are in a context as well. And that context is not only up to us. That's my feeling. It's not only up to us. It's about your surroundings, how is the world evolving. And it's not that you can choose definitely who you are or who you're going to be. It depends on so many things. You can choose, whether to apply to a job or not, whether you like something or you feel more comfortable doing something or something else. But it is connected somehow with the environment and with what's happening in the world. We have so many screens to fill, so many screens that need to work. And so we have a lot of work to do, which is amazing because there are so many things to do. But yeah, new challenges, never ending, new challenges. That's right.
After working quite a few years in the industry on a variety of agencies in Buenos Aires, she turned her attention to freelance or the possibility of starting her own agency.
I started having this idea of going freelance, and I went for some months freelance. I was dating Milton. We were just dating, and then we moved together while I was freelancing, and he was having his own studio, which by then was called Sublime. He was working with a friend of mine that actually, she was the one that introduced us. They were working together by then, but then she moved to Germany, and Sublime started to work differently. And Milton, he told me that he was having a lot more work than he could handle. So I started doing some projects for Sublime, and then we realized that it was working well. At the beginning, I would do the shop myself, but then he was like, "Okay, I'm free to animate what you are designing. Do you mind if I do the animation and of the things that you are doing the design?" I was like, "Okay, let's give it a try," and it worked out well. And then over the whole year of 2017, we would do that without even mentioning that we wanted to have a studio. It was like, okay, let's do this project together and this other. We had just moved in together, so it was like natural at the same time. And by October 2017, we were like, okay, what is happening here? let's put a name to it. So that's when NotReal started.
We asked Valeria about how they named their design studio, NotReal.
We wanted to name the studio, and we even bought like an English dictionary, and we would like open the dictionary at any point. Okay, so this name. No, let's flip it and let's do it again. And that didn't work. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. We really like this idea of like a negative that would be catchy and short name. We wanted to have like a catchy short idea. And then we really like this of denying something that wasn't happening. And then we were like, okay, NotReal. Well, NotReal. That sounds good, right? Yeah, sounds good. Okay, let's see if somebody has a domain. We were checking. Let's see if somebody has a domain. What about Instagram? Does anybody have the NotReal Instagram? No, it's available. Okay, so let's use it. So basically that was it.
As NotReal continued to grow, Valeria and Milton's roles evolved as their studio kept getting more projects and expanding.
We have designers and we have animators, and more Milton and I grew into creative directors instead of like art directors or motion directors. So it's a constant communication between what we want to do and how are we going to organize and do the projects. And I always have like my perspective from the design point of view. How can we make it better? And what are my tools to make it work better? And he would bring his perspective from the animation side, how to make it better. So it's a combination of both. And then we work super close with the team. We like to be as much as organized as we can. You have this idea when you go freelance or when you start your own studio that you own your own time and you can do what you want with your time, and it's not that real. It's not that real. You have to like organize a team. You have to be aware of other people's times, your clients' times, and organization is key to make a beautiful project.
To Valeria, collaboration and transparency is key to achieve great success in a design project. Working with multiple teams and a variety of people with different backgrounds, organization is also extremely helpful to get the job done in the best way possible.
Our ideal is to have everything as transparent as possible with all the team. And that's what makes it more efficient, I think, and the outcome is better. Most of the times we start together with the creative ideas and I lead the design team, and whenever that is good to go to animation is something that Milton starts leading. So it has a fluctuation between one side or the other. We try to keep it all together and super connected. Whatever I am doing in the design, Milton has to know, and whatever is going on with animation, I have to know what's going on.
Buenos Aires is a very vibrant city, both in culture but also in color. From street art to signage, the use of graphic design is visible throughout. Valeria remembers one such time when color really played a role in the political issues of the national government.
If you go to the street, everything is political. Even, I don't know, like women power into the streets over the last years, and I feel super grateful and super encouraged by all of the women's rights movement. And if you go to the street, you would see it. You would see graffitis. You would see, flags on the balconies. Last year, finally, abortion was removed as it's legal right now. But you would see on the street girls with a green flag or a green handkerchief, that would mean pro-abortion. And you would have like the religious or the side, the more conventional side, with a light blue handkerchief or flag, and that would mean please don't do this. Let's save both of the lives. And it was super controversial, and it was super, I don't know how, it was a special time, really. And you would see, you can even see right now, if you go to the streets, I don't know, like walls painted in green, and only by painting them in green, you would know what that means. So a lot of political issues, a lot of political stuff are on the street. I'm super grateful to have a team that is more women rather than men. I feel really connected to, I don't know, over the last months and years, I've been wanting to feel a lot more connected with my femininity, how to say, like my girl side, and I have been really the girl power, and I would say that a lot of things have to still shift in our industry, in our community, and my one of my challenges for the future is how to integrate more women into the industry, and how to, at least one of my dreams is to be in a place where I can inspire and teach and be as like an image for somebody else who says, okay, I can own a studio. I can own a studio. I can run a studio. I can discuss budgets with somebody else. I can talk to clients from the industry. So as a role model, that would be my challenge, let's say. It's not something that you can handle, but it's something that I would say I would love to make a contribution in this moment of the world history. All this journey of NotReal and working with Milton and Robert and Eugenia and all the team has made me a better person and encouraged me to design better and led me to different places that changed my character, my personality, that made me a more mature person. And I'm super thankful for all of the people that are next to me and are supporting me and are without even noticing.
In a world that is constantly evolving, Valeria has a clear view on how graphic design follows the changes happening around us, but also how design can directly impact the world.
As designers, we all have a part to play when it comes to using our skills in ethical and good ways that communicate what is right. And we all know deep down that by including diversity within our teams, we will build a stronger, more vibrant future together.
This is Design Atlas.
We hope you join us next Thursday as we travel to Amman, Jordan to meet up with Bashar Al-Jabari, a talented creative who uses his skills to bring awareness to humanitarian concerns, producing digital content for UNICEF in Jordan. Want us to remind you of when the next episode comes out? Simply subscribe to our email updates by visiting designatlaspod.com.
To find out more about Valeria Moreiro and NotReal, we've included her studio's Instagram and website links in the show notes. We definitely recommend you check them out.
Also, don't forget to join us for our next episode by subscribing to the show and leaving a positive review. We really appreciate it.
To learn more about Design Atlas and to sign up for updates, visit our website at designatlaspod.com. If you want to get in touch with us or have a topic idea for our next episode, feel free to send us an email at hello@designatlaspod.com or DM us on Instagram at designatlaspod. Thanks for listening. I'm Megan Lutke.
And I'm Jens Springsjord.